just like that, we are live, rocking and rolling with Mr. Andrew Rice. Andrew, always a pleasure.
Pete, it's been too long. It's been too long. Thanks for having me on. It seems like it's been forever since we last spoke, but
Yeah, I
nice to
think it's
be together.
almost, yes, I think it's almost 2.5 years. And as we were saying before we came on, we live maybe 2, 3 miles from each other.
Yeah,
And it's amazing how you can lose connection to somebody and live that close. It's just like, it's like going to the beach. We live, what, 10, 15 minutes from the beach? And I bet I haven't been there a dozen times in 20, 30 years here. And it's like, I
yeah.
can go next week.
I'm I'm with you. I'm with you. It's called busyness. It's that thing called life getting in the way.
But look at all the top level teachers that are in this area now. We got you're in the top 100. Tim Cook's in the top. Jason Sutton moved here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Krista.
Krista's in there. Colin Swatton's over in Belfair.
Yeah.
I don't remember the fella's name. I was at the seminar at Berkeley with him. I didn't meet him. The fella at Long Cove now. You might know his name. I think
Oh,
he's up
yes.
there.
It escapes me. He came from Atlanta, I think.
But I mean,
Um,
the wealth of talent that we have in this area. I mean, every golfer around here ought to be winning member guest and stuff when they leave the area. Right? There's no excuse that,
you would
that they
think,
can't turn
right?
up. Exactly. So you have. I'm sorry Terry couldn't join us. I love your wife. She is probably the most positive person in the world. She's always smiling. Has the best
She is the
best thing.
best. She
She
is the
is
best.
awesome.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, she's a cool lady. Unfortunately, yeah, she had another appointment that she had to attend to this evening.
It's okay. I'll give her a pass just as long as next time you guys can, again, like we talked about, you can educate me on some wine and I'll bring the supply and you guys bring the education.
That's a fair trade anytime.
But before we get into coach camp, I follow you on social media. I saw you were up at the UGA game this week. I believe your son goes up there.
Yes, he does.
Look,
He does.
look like a pretty good time.
It's always a good time. You know, even when you beat Vandy 55 to nothing, it was the best part about the whole weekend, I think, was hanging out in one of the bars in Athens afterwards and getting some food and just watching the Alabama Tennessee game with everybody else and just it was kind of awesome being there. It was like a hometown victory. Of course, all the Bulldog fans were cheering for Alabama to lose, and that kind of worked out for us. So we were happy.
Yeah, that had to be a little crazy. I don't follow it enough. Does Georgia play Alabama this year?
Georgia is not slated to play Alabama unless it's in the SEC championship or the football playoffs.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would hate to have been an Alabama player at practice this week.
Oh, I was thinking of them this morning, actually. I was like,
Uh,
Nick's got them doing a couple of extra laps today.
Yeah, could you imagine how much they're going to be throwing up and how much he's going to run them to death? And I
Yeah,
mean, it's one thing to lose, but when you lose because of mental mistakes with all the penalties they had,
yeah.
that's a discipline thing. And I would have to imagine Saban is not going to put up with that in his camp.
Yes, I would agree. But it's super interesting to see how college football is just taking shape, and there's always new. It's nice to see new challengers moving up, and hopefully some of the old ones can relinquish their throne a little bit and let some other people up there. You know, it's
hmm
neat.
So you have I consider you to have one of the best deals around where you're here for like the perfect time of year with the weather and everything, and you get to check out in the summer where you go around the country and even sometimes around the world teaching, doing schools.
Yes.
Where you were, was it Portugal recently?
We were in Portugal. Terry and I, we came up with this idea almost 2 decades ago. We created a little travel company because we noticed, and it's not hard to notice, but we noticed that in January, February, this part of the world is a little slow on the teaching golf side of things.
hmm
And then September is not particularly a bad month. It's a lovely month, in fact. But everyone's back at school, everyone's back at work, and September has historically, I'm sure you've seen the same thing,
hmm
historically been a slow teaching month. And so a long time ago, we came up with the idea, hey, January, we're going to take people to South Africa. February, we take people to either New Zealand or Australia. We haven't been there for a while, but we've kind of, in 23 and 24, we're going to double up on South Africa. And then September, we pick a country in Europe and go and play golf and travel around and eat great food and drink good wine and have a
That's
good
awesome.
time for 10 days or so in September. So yes, we were just doing that.
Yeah, when I follow you on social media, is I'm here in the summer and its index is 105, and I see that you're in Seattle or Washington State or you're in upstate New York and it's 85 and sunny and doing your teaching. I'm like, God, I wish I could do what he does sometimes and just get out of here.
Pete, you can do it. Come on.
I know I need to talk to you about how to get that set up. And then the Africa thing. I mean, that's Cape Town is arguably one of my favorite cities in the world. I love
Yeah, it's
South
beautiful.
Africa.
We love, we've been, 2023 is going to be our 20th trip taking people over. And we've been doing it for a long time. We love it. Terry's got the trip down. Each year we try to, if there's something about the trip that we don't like, we try to move it out and fill it with something that's even more appealing, even better. And so we're always trying to make it better and just make it more enjoyable for our guests. And that's that's my favorite. I love it.
You know what I was very surprised with when we went over there a few years ago? That there were no flights that went south, let's say here or Savannah, pick our area, local area, the low country, to say Miami and then across to Cape Town, or here to somewhere in South America, either Bogota or somewhere down there. And then you could go over. Everything had to go north. Like we went to New York and then, um, uh, where did we go in Europe? We flew there.
Johannesburg,
Yeah, but we flew New York. Where do they have the red light district and all the hash and everything?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. And we had a
Okay.
few hour layover, and then we did the 12-hour flight
Oh,
down to Cape Town. And I'm like,
you
I
took
don't
the long
understand.
way around.
Yes, but there was a direct flight. I just didn't want to sit in an airplane for 18 hours straight. I mean, what's 20 when you're going 18? That I can
It's
only do a couple
15.
of.
Come on, it's 15 from Atlanta to Joburg is 15. There used to be many years ago. There used to be a Rio flight,
That would make
um,
sense.
Johannesburg, Rio, and Rio. You could connect up to Miami, and that was kind of the southern route. But they don't. I'm not sure why they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, there's. I'm not sure why they do a lot of things in today's world anymore.
Yes, this is true.
But so let's jump into. I'm sure everybody's they're more curious to hear about what you have going on in a couple weeks as opposed to there are about us talking about local wines and traveling the world. Coach Camp, you got it coming up in a few weeks. It's one of the, I think it's the premier coaching event of the year. Personally, maybe I'm biased because I've known you for a number of years and it's here locally. Um, but just for the people who might be new to teaching or instruction, just give them a brief what Coach Camp is, and then we'll get into all about it and go from
Pete,
there.
firstly, thanks so much for saying that. I really do appreciate that. Coach Camp is a exactly that. It's a camp for coaches. It's about coaching golf. I would love for us to get into other sports and have other coaches in other sports present to us and learn and pull what we can from them. But pretty much it's 2 days of like-minded coaches coming together. They're passionate. Everyone wants to learn. And I selfishly pick out presenters that I want to learn from all over the world. And they come in and we do live presentations. This year, we're going to have a few pre-recorded presentations, which is a little bit of a takeaway from the COVID era. Hopefully that era has passed us by. And it's just nice to be able to get someone to do a 30-minute, hour-long presentation from Scotland, where they can just film it and shoot it over to me, and we can all watch and learn from it instead of flying them over and having them do a presentation. Just a lot more cost effective for us that way. But it's really just 2 days of like-minded coaches coming together to talk about a variety of different concepts, ranging from biomechanics to swing catalyst to statistics, tracking statistics, coaching tour players, coaching the everyday golfer. And it's just a great banter session and everyone gets to share. And I know every time I leave Coach Camp, I'm motivated. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to getting out on the lesson tee and starting to share some of these great nuggets and great concepts that the other presenters have shared.
Yeah, and it's you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's like a just a giant brain trust of golfing, coaching, and instruction ideas. And it sometimes it's the littlest things that that can make a huge difference. Like I remember the last one that you had in person was at 19.
Yes.
Yeah, so 19, and I was walking when we were walking from the hotel to the range, and I was walking with John Sinclair, and we were talking about wrist positions, and I said, well, why would you not just have like the hanger drill or something? Put a
Yeah.
spoon on the back of somebody's hand or something like that. He said, well, why would you want to limit the amount of flexion that someone could go into if you have just a hanger or a spoon? And I'm like, that's got to be the most simple response, but the most interesting,
Hmm.
powerful one that I could absolutely imagine. And here
Yeah,
we are
that's a
just
great
walking
answer,
from
actually.
right,
Yeah.
just walking from the hotel and the conference room out to the range. And it's like, I mean, I use that so much. I've gotten rid of the hanger unless someone's really cupped at the top. And it's okay,
Yeah.
you use this at home, and then we'll work on getting you more flexed on the way down and get that club face square or close. But it's like I have not forgotten that, and that was my first one. And I was sad to see
Cool,
that
man.
COVID kind of put a punch you guys in the stomach, so to speak, and that everything had to go online. But I meant to sign up today if you have any
We
more
do.
room.
We've got some space left.
Okay, so everyone out there listening, I'm going to take one, so you better get online now. But don't take my spot. And I'll have your link to that in the summary and your website and everything, like we always do. What was the idea that was behind Coach Camp from the beginning? Let's go back a number of years ago.
Pete, it really started through a name you've mentioned already, Jason Sutton, who's now, he was up in North Carolina at the time, but he's now at Colleton River here
Mm-hmm.
locally. And he had a program that was called, I think it was called the Guru's Workshop. And I was invited to present there at one point and did a presentation. And coming away from that, I was really impressed. I thought it was a great idea. And I called him up when Terry and I had discussed doing something similar. I called him up and I said, Jason, is it possible? Would it be okay if we replicated what you're doing down here? In at the time South Carolina. He's up in North Carolina, and he was like, yeah, go for it. And so it really has been modeled on that initially. It's changed a lot since then. But that was the concept. Bring coaches in and have some cool, motivated um, presenters who everybody wants to learn from. And let's see what happens. Let's ask questions. Let's talk. Let's veer off the structured lines, so to speak, and venture into some different areas and some different questions. And that's really where Coach Camp was born. I think our first Coach Camp was February 2016, and we had, geez, it was fantastic. It was so young. It was so raw, and that's always what we're striving for. Is we want it to be a little outside the lines, and we don't want it to be okay exactly 50 minutes. And if someone's doing well and they go over, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
encourage anyone to go over because that really changes the picture a lot. But if they've got a great audience and they've got a great topic and people are absorbing it, that's exactly what we're after.
Yeah, how did you develop it? Because I don't think it was. I remember when you had it, the first one or two. I'd heard about it, but I
Yeah,
think don't remember why I didn't go the first couple. I was off doing something crazy. But
Pete,
how,
we'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. It's okay. Yeah.
because it's grown substantially. So was it just word of mouth, or was it the
We
people you
we
had
used
coming?
social media. We used a lot of the same channels that we're using today to get the word out, and there wasn't much of that available at that time. And there've been, quite a few people who have come to Coach Camp and have said, "Hey, that's a cool idea. Let's do our own version of that."
Mm-hmm.
And that's flattery. Flattery works for me, and imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And so, a lot of people copying what we're doing. I love it. Here's what's going to happen: better golf lessons, better coaches. There's going to be more coaches mentoring other coaches. There's going to be more of an exchange of information. Instead of this, no, this is what I know, I'm hanging on to this. We really try to create this open flow of information. And that's the way it should be. That's how, as a golf coaching community, we ultimately get better. We grow together. We encourage more golfers to play the game, because we know this: there's nothing better than playing good golf. It's always it's never, I don't care what anyone says, how nice the weather is or whatever. But when you go out there and you have a rough day, it's just a plain rough day. But if you feel like there's hope and you're eager and you're anticipating that next day out on the links, that is all a product from good quality coaching. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, what you mentioned, the culture of what you guys created is 100% where people are there to, they might debate, but they're not being disrespectful. So, and
Yeah.
the other thing that I'll never forget that John Sinclair said, maybe he's on my mind today because I texted him when I saw that he's an online presenter, and I said, well,
He is, yes.
I can't heckle you now from the back of the room, but you remember his presentation he started where I think he read or was watching the news the morning before he came on. He was the first presenter that year.
Yeah.
And said that the scientific industry, somebody had come up with something that was revolutionary, and it was like some fourth dimension thing, and et cetera, et cetera. And there are all these other scientists that were saying, that's awesome. Congratulations. We'll do a peer review, but in the meantime, this is a really good thing. And he said, if that was a golf instructor or a golf coach that came up with something, they put it out on Twitter, they would get burned at the stake, or somebody would try to tear him down. And he didn't understand that. But and whatever you guys have done, whether that was the idea from the beginning, but that seems to be the overriding mantra from what I've saw as far as coaches being, okay, I mean, you got to look, if anyone looks at your list, it's second to none. I mean, Sasha McKenzie's in there with his just listening as intent as anybody else to somebody who's talking about something that he's not an expert in. And then, he goes up there and there's another expert that's listening to Sasha. And then it just, everybody's listening to the expert on the stage. And from what I've seen, there's nobody there that's trying to bring the speaker down.
There really isn't, because people are there to learn, and there's nobody there who said, hey, I'm going to pay my entry fee so I can break down some of these instructors. Everyone's there to, okay, I hear what you're saying. What about this? How about this question? And that's really my presentation this upcoming year. It's non-scientific, unsupported, anecdotal, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's what I've seen through standing on the lesson tee, teaching the everyday golfer for over 30 years now. And these are the things that I've come to believe. And I'm going to share a lot of those ideas, a lot of those notions, and put myself out there to go, okay, what do you think? What's good, what's not good? But I encourage everyone to at least investigate a little bit of what I'm talking about.
Have you seen, being somebody who's been a prominent coach for the past at least 15 years, that as golf coaching and teaching has grown through the technical era with all the information that is now available to the masses for the, you Swing Catalyst, K-Vest, TrackMan, Flight Scope, the Back Motion, you have all of them. So do you see that the need for somebody to try to impose their own ideas or wills has died down, in that there's so much more information out there that, I mean, a couple years ago, or even as short as a year or two ago, you could get on social media and you could see these huge arguments. But I think now that we have all these ways to measure, it's like it's kind of eliminated a lot of that let me show somebody that I know something that they don't, because it has become more of a sharing. Hey guys, here's what we have, and this is some really cool stuff. What do you think of it?
Peter, I like that you see that, and I must say I hadn't looked at it or thought about it that way, but there does seem to be less warring going on in golf Twitter. I believe it's still there. I think there's a lot of background stuff that goes on, but oftentimes that is by people who just plain don't know. They think they know. It's by the consumer very often. What do you mean this club spins the ball more than that club? Well, no, it's just like, this is how it works. And I'm not going to engage that person. And so that kind of gets shut down. But that information that you referred to is a big part of why we understand more. And, gee, I think about the last, when we started Coach Camp, 2016, okay, the last 6 years, it's incredible how much information has come out and how much information is now readily available to us as a coaching body. And so we can take that and apply that. Golfers can take that and apply that to their game, and it's made life easier. We are a long ways from the finish line. We don't know everything. We'll never know everything, simply because I was talking to somebody earlier today, and each unique golfer, everybody's different. And so this thing you tried on someone who was swinging just like this person last week and it worked great might not work so well on this person because they're different. And so we've got to have that ability to, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And I was trying to get there via this avenue, but I've got to go around the block and come in that way. And we've got to, the better we get, the more flexible we are in helping our unique students achieve whatever it is we're trying to get them to achieve.
Yeah, and the one thing, the theory I had, I mean, and well, we all knew it that everybody was different, and you could swing. I mean, you had the Fearicks, and you had the Tigers, and you had the Miller Barber swings, and Arnold and Jack. We all knew in the back of our mind, or even in the front of it to some extent, that there are a lot of different ways to swing it. And I think that the technology era got a bad rap, and that it's some of the naysayers or the anti people moving forward. I think you said it once best that you asked the lady that she didn't ride a horse to the seminar. Did she come in her car? Right. Those type of people that they were trying to say, well, all these technological things are trying to make people swing the same. It's like, no, it's not, because I mean, the people I've had on the show, Doc Scott Lynn and Dr. Will Wu and Sasho, and it's like with all the ways to measure golfers today, we're realizing what we knew. We know a lot more, but we're realizing what we knew before, and that there's very subtle differences to everybody. And you can't just say everybody's got to swing this way. That's why I'm really excited to hear Mike Adams speak at Coach Camp. That was pretty cool that you got him signed up. Because he has his measuring system, which I'm a big fan of.
Yes.
I'm very curious to hear what he has to say.
That was a major coup to get Mike. He's as you might imagine, Pete, he's a super busy person. He's in great demand. He's always presenting. He's always traveling, coaching all over the planet. And I thought I was happy when Mike said, "Yeah, I'll be there." I was happy.
I know.
Speaking about someone who knows wine, I'm going to have to bust into my stash of really good bottles when he comes, because he drinks some proper wine on a regular basis.
Your A game better be sharp when he comes.
I better get the A game. I'm not going to slide anything past him.
What were some of the things that in the early days that weren't working as well that you and Terry said, hey, maybe we should take this out and come up with an idea and add this? What was it? Just the two of you kind of sitting around reflecting on what you guys did for that weekend, or was it seeking feedback from some of the people that came? How did you go about building up from what you started?
Pete, most often it was, we always sent out a survey, and surveys have their place. You know, if there's something obvious wrong, you're going to hear a similar theme from a number of different people. Oftentimes when you send surveys out, you'll hear one person talking about this, one person talking about that, and we tend to discount some of those ideas. Mm-hmm. But asking people who had been to, there's quite a few people who have been to every coach camp we've done, and asking those people who've been to a number of seminars, who wouldn't miss one, and they have a sense as to how it should work, how it should go, how they become engaged. And one of the things that I received feedback on this year, in leading up to this year's event, was, what do we get from the live lessons? I've always been a big proponent of the live lessons, and we've always done them at Coach Camp up until, obviously, COVID. We couldn't do them, but this year we could, and we chose not to, simply because I felt like we would get more from a great expert sharing their insights, their findings on different topics. I just find that sometimes those live lessons, and we've said it already here tonight, each person is unique. So, okay, I'm going to watch this great coach give this unique golfer a lesson, and okay, what can I take from that? What can I use from that? Other than the person I'm teaching next Tuesday is different to that person, so I can't really do that. You can get, obviously I'm oversimplifying here, but you can get some ideas. But this year, and it may come back, but we've just decided for the first time to do away with some live on tee stuff. It's a long time to get. It takes a lot to get people over there. It's difficult to record, and we just said, let's try it without any live stuff. And so this year we're going all indoors, all discussion based. But what we have decided to do, and this is perhaps the thing I think I'm most looking forward to, is we've got open mic night for the presenters. And what that means is we're going to everyone who's not local like us, Pete, are going to be staying in a central hotel. We've arranged transportation back to the event and back to the hotel, whereby we have dinner planned, we have open bar, and it's open mic. Get up, tell a story. Get up, ask a question, and we're gonna have some great discussions during the course of that evening, and it starts at 6. The goal is to shut that thing down at 10 o'clock because we'll have to be there bright and early the next day. But I know that is what everyone who would talk about Coach Camp, man, I love that in between night. That's so great. Well, you would have a group of 12 going there and a group of 4 going there and a group of 8 going there. Well, now we're all hanging out together. And it's going to be, like you said, this big brain trust and discussion points about so many different things. Mark Blackburn's going to be there. What this guy has done with Max Homa is mind-bending. Great coach, fabulous guy, and I just know people are going to ask him some fantastic stories. James Lights, the kind of the godfather of technology. He has bought every single piece of technology you could ever imagine. Starting in, I think it was like the early 1900s, he started buying stuff. James, I know you're not that old if you're watching. I apologize. But it seems like you've been around forever, and he's going to be sharing information. So it's going to be a great event, a great night. I'm really looking forward to that night.
I had a couple younger coaches ask me what I thought when Mark Blackburn won Coach of the Year. And
yeah,
I said, well, here's the way I look at it. I said, if you look at his tour players, and you didn't know that he was their coach, and you went to a tour event and all of them were hitting balls on the range at the same time, you would never be able to believe that they all went to the same coach.
Yeah.
I said, now, and he's doing that, and I said that to me is one of the signs of a fabulous teacher. That there's no thumbprint except that they play very well. That's the common denominator.
Correct.
And you're right. What he did with Max's swing, I think was in Golf Digest, and I think they reviewed some of it where he tweaked his shoulder plane and got the club a little higher and some other things. I might be wrong on that. Some troll is going to probably correct me.
But Pete, you're fine. You're fine here. This is a safe space.
But yeah, it's impressive. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Your lineup this year is exceptional.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. It's always interesting. And I said this earlier. Selfishly, I'm picking the presenters that I want to hear from, that I want to learn from. And I always go by, well, if I want to learn from them, I know there's a bunch of other coaches who want to learn from them. So let's do it. Let's do it. I must say this. I would love to have a great lady coach as a feature presenter. I know we had Erica Larkin do some stuff the last couple of years. This year we've got Joanna Coe, who's the director of instruction at, oh my gosh.
Marion, isn't it?
Marion. I was going to say Medina. I was going to say not Medina, something else in there. She's director of instruction there. She's got a presentation for us. And I don't not pick ladies because we're men only. I pick coaches who have information that everybody wants to learn about, and they're going to help fill the room. They're going to help bring people to the event. We've got to have people at the event for it to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who I'm looking for. I don't care, male, female, or European, Australian, African, American. It doesn't matter to me. I just need you to have great information that other people want to come and hear about, learn about.
I had a similar. It wasn't. I guess it was just, when are you going to have more women on? I mean, Susie Whaley's been on. Krista's come on. I told you Tanya Tari was on. That's going to launch tomorrow. It's
Very
just,
cool.
yeah, that's a very interesting one. It just, sometimes it's harder to get women well, first of all, golf is a male dominated industry. I mean, Susie and I talked about that, as
It
well as
is.
Krista and I, but some of the women present, or coaches and instructors and so on, they are in extremely high demand, and it's hard to schedule them, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah, Pete, you're right, but a lot of the feature presenters are in extremely high demand as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they can make it. It ultimately comes down to, I'm looking for people that have great information, and they have information that a lot of people are eager to learn about. If you can tick those two boxes for me, you're in. Call me. We'll have you on as a presenter at Coach Camp.
How do you find or do your search, so to speak, as you're looking for people that fit that criteria? Where do you do most of your? Is it just social media and people you follow, or and you see
Yeah,
a post, or is
yeah,
it
I think
other
so, Pete.
seminars you go to?
I'll start in February, and I'll start in my phone, in my notes. I'll go Coach Camp presenters, and I'll start adding names, and I'll see someone, and I'll like that video, and I'll watch that, and I'll watch that. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go and I'll keep adding names, and then we get to like kind of the end of the spring. And now it's time, okay, we've got to start to make a move and got to start to get people. We look at the dates, we see which tour event it happens to coincide with. And then I'll start to go, okay, this is, my numero uno. I really want to get this person there. I'll reach out to them first because, I know that if I invite 6 people, 2 of them are going to be able to make it. And so, but you can't invite 6 because what if all 6 want to come? Then you got to say, oh, I'm sorry, I was just kidding kind of thing. I wasn't kidding, but everyone else said yes, and you were number 5 on the list. So you can't do that. You've almost got to go onesies and twosies at a time just to get people to make sure that they can make it. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. It's good information. It's a good following on social media. And if you got those 2 things and people are aware of you and they're soaking up your information, would love to have you.
Yeah, the hardest part of this podcast over the 3+ years now I've been doing it is the scheduling, because
Yes.
I'll schedule somebody, and if they cancel that week, because we were talking, I try to do Sunday releases, and
Yeah.
if somebody cancels, now I miss Sunday, and everybody's
Yeah.
kind of, from what I'm told, people are, once you get in a cycle of you're going to release it on these days, then it sets you back. Or if I get, so then I started sending out multiple invites, and now if I get 2 people confirmed, now, oh boy, now what am I going to do? So that has been very challenging. I can feel your pain on that one, even though it's 2 different realms, so to speak. It's that has been the hardest part.
You know what makes scheduling easier?
I'm
COVID.
all ears. Yes.
COVID. We don't want that. It was
No.
amazing how many golf coaches were available during COVID.
One of the guys you had that was last year, I didn't get to see it because I told you my guys usually come to town. The guys I grew up with that week. I moved it back this week, or I moved it up so I can make the coach camp. I'm going to butcher his name. Shaheen Nakjavani.
Yes, Shoheen. Yeah.
Yes, he has some very interesting things that he puts out there, and I thought he would be a very good one. I'm glad that he was able to present, even if it was virtual.
Yeah, we got to get him down here live one of these days. But he puts out some fantastic information. Tons of people follow him. I really like how he just says, okay, this is what this golf swing needs. It needs more and more depth. Needs to face more here, and like let's work towards achieving that.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be super fancy.
Especially for being up in Canada. It's amazing how many good instructors and people are coming out of Canada or that are in
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
between
Derek
he and
Ingram is another great Canadian coach. Liam Mucklow is another great Canadian coach, and
Scott
I've
Calks.
tried
I've
to
had
get those
Scott on.
guys on, but scheduling.
Do you know Scott Calks? Calks?
Scott's been a feature presenter at
That's
Coach
right.
Camp already.
That
Yeah,
was 18 because that was the year that I had wanted to go and
yeah.
I couldn't go that year and I came in 19. So yes, I do remember he presented with
Scott,
you.
we did one in we initially we with Coach Camp we would travel. We would go to Europe, and one of the early years we went to we did one in Bluffton, the
Hmm.
first one, and then that summer we went on the road and we did one in Belgium, and followed up with another one in Ireland, and it was great. We had Trackman Maestro Joe Mayo traveling with us, and I'll never forget traipsing up. If anyone's ever been to the Waterloo Memorial in Belgium, it's a flight of stairs that goes up like that, and there's hundreds of them. And me and Joe and Terry traipsed up there, and we got to the top, and all our knees were shaking. Okay, and for the next 3 days, our legs were just a wreck from getting that much exercise. But we took Joe to the Waterloo Memorial site, um, and it was great. You know, it was great traveling with those guys: Martin Chuck, Dana Dahlquist, Joe Mayo, Mark Crossfield did some stuff with us over there as well. And so we've just had, Chuck Cook, uh, Jeff Smith, awesome. Brian Manzella's been on. Sasha's obviously been on a lot. The guys from Ping are amazingly, amazingly generous with their information, their insights, and their time. And they're always keen and eager to present and share their gold nuggets with all of us. And just great bunch of coaches.
So yes, a lot of great coaches you've had on there. This year is the coming out of COVID. What? Let me back up a little bit. What were some of the challenges that COVID presented? I mean, everybody was scared to death when COVID first came out, and I know after you realize, hey, okay, we can still have coach camp, but it still had to be very scary in that it presented a lot of different challenges. Like, how are you going to make it happen?
Oh, it was like a completely different event, and we wanted to get feature presenters in, but that was never going to happen. And so, well, what are we going to do? Well, we've got to get everyone to do this like online presentation. Well, okay, and then my picture of that was like, okay, I need Chuck Cook to be on at exactly 9 o'clock because that's when so and so ends up. And then we were like, no, that's way too scary. What if the line it drops the line or something goes wrong? That's way too scary. So we decided to go pre-record, and we had a great friend from Orlando by the name of Chris Taylor, who coaches golf himself, and a fabulous guy. And he really helped us out a lot. And he had done all these Zoom calls, and he put all the presentations together. And it was pretty much at the start of the event, we would hit play, and there was these little like 3 minute windows that we carved out in between each of the presentations where I would pop on and say, hey, thanks very much, Chuck Cook. Lovely to hear from you. That's great information. Next up, we've got Lynn and Pia, and they're going to be talking about that. Take it away, ladies. And he would hit play and it would go, and everything worked smoothly. We had a nice recording that a lot of coaches actually worldwide have taken advantage of, simply because it's tough to come to coach camp from Russia or
Hmm.
Australia or places like that. And so coaches have been able to see it all over the place. It worked out quite nicely, very much with the help of Chris Taylor. But we're happy to be going back to live. I must say, it's nice. We're going to include a couple of pre-recorded sessions where coaches can't make it in, and I said, well, can you do a recording for us? John Sinclair is going to be one of them, as you mentioned earlier. Joanna Coe is going to be presenting, and we're going to have some good information from them. But it's just going to be like watching a movie, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Was there any? Did you guys consider or have been considering? And I don't want you to let private information out of the bag, so to speak. But did you take or look at taking some of what you learned from COVID with the ability to package it all online, to where somebody from that's in Australia that wants to attend virtual now, even though that it is back in person, or somebody that's in Finland or around the world or in Johannesburg, that they can attend it in the same fashion that they did last year via COVID while people are still coming there in person?
It's on. It won't be
Oh, it is.
during the event
Okay.
simply because we got to record it, edit it, and put it together. But that should be, I'm thinking, no more than 2 weeks after Coach Camp is completed. That will be available to coaches all over.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of taken something that was difficult, you learned from it, and
yeah,
then you made it even better.
yeah,
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 I remember Tony Robbins has that giant. He has those two or three giant seminars. I guess I'll call them for lack of a better term. All that. I think he has one in Australia, one in Palm Beach, where there's I don't know how many thousands of people show up, and they had a similar thing. It's like, how are they going to do this when nobody can attend? And I don't know if you've seen it, but there is where he's in a room where there's just hundreds of TV. It's like Zoom calls all at the same time. Like all these
yeah.
people can see him and he can see them. And they had their event, Date with Destiny, I think it's called.
Okay.
But it was like, that is absolutely amazing that they could put on something that big. Um, I mean, he's got a whole production team and everything else, right? That they did the
Yes,
documentary
yes.
on him and all that other stuff. But that was like, holy cow, what can be done given
Mm.
all these things kind of came to light during COVID when everybody's sitting there locked in their house or in their neighborhood twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, and I like the way you said that because what was the good that came out of COVID and the good that came from those challenges? And there's definitely good. There's lots of good stuff, that we've learned and we've upgraded and made a little bit more uh, accessible to coaches all over the world, just really because of COVID.
Mm-hmm. And just for anyone listening, if they are in around the world, because happily I can say that as I track who listens to the podcast, it has reach outside of just the U.S. But will they be able to to purchase that off your website, or will they subscribe
They
via
will.
YouTube and buy it off
They
of
will.
YouTube, or all those different cool ways that we can connect nowadays?
We're going to load it privately, separately onto our website. People will be once they purchase the online version, they will be given a code. That code will be good for one system. In other words, you can't open it, so you can't share it. You can't open it on multiple systems. It's only
Mm-hmm.
good for one computer, and then they can watch whenever they want. They can log in and watch. John Sinclair's presentation. They can watch Mike Adams' presentation. They can watch my presentation whenever they want at their leisure. But they own the access to that product.
Cool. Yeah, I saw Doc Brett's coming. He's doing a pre-recorded though, right? Uh,
He is. He is. He's not going to be here, unfortunately, live. But he's going to kick us off. He's a great guy to get things started and always paints a good picture.
Yeah, that was good for me. I'm not a morning person, and he being the first presenter that first day just woke me up and had my attention right from the get go. So
Yes.
that was for me. I mean, I had a great experience in the first one. That's why I've been excited to come back and
Awesome,
do
Pete.
another one.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately, Dr. McCabe is too famous now.
yeah, I know he's
He
getting
can't
big.
come anymore. He's too famous.
So some of you mentioned, or we talked about Mike Adams and the young lady from Marion. I can't remember who
Yes.
you mentioned. Who are some of the others that you have coming this year
We've
presenting?
got a super guy, and I know a lot of people follow him, Derek Deminsky, Golf Better Tucson. He's a short game spin guru, and he's a good player. He just qualified via local qualifier to play in the Vegas event. He missed the cut, but what a cool experience. What a great guy. He's got a massive following on Instagram,
He does
and
all
that's
the
where I
wedge
learned about
shots
Derek. Sorry, Pete?
where he spins the shit out of you. That's his. I've seen him on social media.
Crazy,
Yes.
crazy. And he's got a wedge presentation, and he's been working with the engineers at Ping, because he is Phoenix kind of based, Tucson, Phoenix kind of close. And so he's been popping up there, and they've been coming up with some ideas and some things together. And that's part of what he's going to be presenting on.
And you've got the Ping guys, the doctors,
We
Dr.
got
Paul.
we got a cool one is going to be Marty Jurtson and Chris Brody, Mark Brody's son. A lot of people don't know Chris. Chris works for Ping. Chris is pretty smart himself, and they've got some cool stuff they're going to be talking about, golf balls, wind, and just what they've learned from that. I know Eric Henriksen, Director of Innovation at Ping, is going to be talking and almost tying into him and Derek Dominski, the short game guy, have been working a lot together. And so Eric's presentation is almost going to be like the theory behind what Derek's doing. And so those two are going to work nicely together. And then I must say I haven't spoken to Paul in the last couple of weeks to hear what he's going to be talking about, but he's always got some good stuff.
You see, you had to give Sasha a year off.
Sasha got a year off. Yeah, he's also another one of these guys getting too famous. When you go and work with the guy and he wins the U.S. Open a few months later, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I had a bunch of people call me and say, we got to get one of those stack systems. I said, well, just go. He was nice enough to give a discount to anybody from the show that ordered one.
Yes.
My brother ordered one. Said that one of the guys at Congress, one of his staff guys, swing speed went from like 116 to 122 over the course of 9 months. He said, I got to get one. I said,
it's amazing.
He messaged me. He said, "Do you know a guy named Sasha McKenzie?" I said, "Yeah, he's only been on the show twice, and he's been to Andrew's coach camp like almost every year since he started."
Yeah, it's true.
Different venue this year as well.
Yes, we're in downtown Bluffton. I'm very excited because if you know the downtown deli, we're in their event space, and it's a fabulous space, perfect for what we're looking for. They've got outside. We can go and have lunch outside if the weather allows us to. But the food is magic, and they're doing dinner for us. They've got the whole deal. So the food's going to be fabulous. Our space is going to be very private. It's nice and local, certainly for you and I. But we're excited to be working with them and taking advantage of that great space right in downtown Bluffton.
Yeah, and anybody that's going to go to that, as you and I know, we've lived here so long, you could walk into Old Town. It's only a block from the venue, and just kind of, meander around Bluffton and see all the cool things that are down there, the river and Old Town and Calhoun Street. And it's a very cool spot. And the food is awesome. So,
food is amazing.
If you needed another reason to sign up, go hit pause, go and sign up right now. Just because the food is going to be awesome too. Where do you have you and Terry talked about growing this, as you mentioned, into, because you have a lot of instructors? Have you spread it out into one outs? Like I know you and Michael Carroll have done some things together.
Yes.
Have you thought about expanding it into the fitness realm as well?
I would love, I'm the biggest Mike Carroll fan on the planet. I love Mike and the information that he just dishes out for free daily on social media. I look at it and I go, if I was putting on a golfer camp seminar, Mike's there. Mike's there because every golfer needs to hear from Mike. Coaches, I don't know how much of Mike's information would apply to what I do. Physically I need him. But coaching, I don't know how much of Mike's information I can take and plug into my coaching. I'm sure there is a parallel. I've been searching for a parallel. Just give me half a reason to get Mike to come to coach camp, and I'll do it. I've searched for a long time to try to find a way to get him there, and it's almost like all the stuff he gives away, it's like, I don't need to go to coach camp. I just read his Twitter. he gives away too much good stuff.
He does.
I just turn my phone on and there it is. But he's got great info.
Yes, I like watching him almost as much for his story of his progression of his game as much as I do for some of
Yeah,
the technical things he puts out. It's just like he has a dual following. You know, you got
yeah,
some of the trainers that look at what he's doing in the gym, and then you've got his actual game improvement where he's committed to getting down to his best the best he can possibly be.
yeah.
What I don't. We talked a little bit about earlier about expanding it at some point into, or the potential for it expanding into other sports. Is that ever something that you think you guys would do to where you could make it a large company that you hosted these things, since you have the foundation for it and you know the ins and outs?
Pete, I like the way you're talking. I love this kind of thing. But we have a travel company. We have golf schools. We have golf lessons. We have on the road golf schools during the course of the summer.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, there's only so
and
much a plate can handle.
yeah, it's like Terry's like, okay, enough. We've got Golf Fanatics, which is an online golf instruction company that Terry spends most of her time babysitting. And just to add to the pile, it's like we love Coach Camp for what it is. And it's like if you take your hobby and you turn it into your job, it's no longer your hobby.
Hmm.
Not that Coach Camp is our hobby, but it's this nice small thing that, yes, we put quite a bit of time into, but it's not overwhelming in its amount of time. And I know that if we, I'm sure we could do it. We would have to partner with coaches from other sports, and we could certainly pull it together. Um, to create this mega coach camp. There's so many, there's some great baseball coaches and soccer coaches and Nick Saban. And, maybe I'd put Kirby Smart ahead of Nick Saban right now. But just coaches I would want to learn from, and just hear their philosophy and their take, and how do I motivate my players. And that's all stuff that us as a golf coaching community could benefit from.
Oh, I agree. You have the human element. You have. Here's an example. As I was at the gym today, I was listening to Jordan Peterson and Andrew Huberman, and I'm you like learning different things. I don't know if you've heard it. I'm sure you probably heard it, at least one of them, if not both.
Yes. Yeah. The
But
Canadian one.
yes. So they were talking about dopamine and
Yeah.
how you get in all the studies that the brain, the neuroscientists and the psychologists have, that it's the dopamine hit that you get pre whatever it is you're trying to achieve is actually what people strive for, and then once it's over, there is somewhat a letdown. So I would have to imagine, just with that in my brain after listening to it today, to the build up now that you're just 3 weeks away, that it's getting very exciting for you and Terry. And then it's like, okay, once the day is here that everybody's coming in and you're checking in, it's like, okay, let it go, let it run,
Let her roll. Open the gates
open
and
the
let them
gates.
run.
Yep. And is there somewhat of a letdown afterwards because you put so
Definitely.
much time and effort and emotion into it?
Definitely. That's what I've learned. I used to coach the day after coach camp. Obviously, we had last year I was coaching, but I've learned in the last 2 or 3 years, don't coach day after coach camp. Just chill. Just chill.
Hmm.
Because it's just like you said, I've never really thought about it that way, but it's a little bit of this like let down day, and it's just okay. Let's recover. Let's gather our thoughts, and then we can go.
Well, especially for you guys. I mean, for somebody like me who's attending, it's you almost need a day or two or a couple or whatever it is
Yeah,
for all the information that you just took into your brain to kind of process it, to say, okay, I've got this student that I can apply what Doc Brett said to. I got this student and I can apply what John Sinclair said to. Now, and you've got to be
yeah,
able to formulate that. And then for you, with the added workload that you guys have, and everything that you put into it, there has to be a letdown, because as we just said, you work hard at it and you do it for a reason, and then it's not like, oh,
it's
I
over.
loved it, but it's over with.
Yeah.
I need a break, and like the old say, I need vacation from my vacation.
Yes, yeah. My life, if you look at me on Insta, you'll go, "Ah, this guy's on vacation all the time." There's a lot, there has to be. You can't do it with smoke and mirrors. There has to be a lot of hard work at some point. But yeah, definitely, day after coach camp, gotta chill.
Yeah, go do your photography. I know you're a
Yes.
big photographer. So you
Yes.
do
I'm
some pretty cool
excited. I'm
stuff.
excited.
I got to send you the two best. And I'm not a photographer by any means. I sit there with my iPhone. I just snap stuff away all the time. My two best photos, arguably ever, are from Africa when we were at the game preserve. I'll send them to you because I want your input. But to me, I think they're really good. But to somebody who knows that stuff like you, I'll be
Send them to me. Are
looking
they
forward.
iPhone or real camera?
They're on iPhone.
Okay.
I've got to get a camera. I have actually have a Pentax K1000 to tell you how old my I mean, that's like hitting a persimmon driver still. I had that when my dad got me that when I was in high school, and I dabbled in a little bit. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like,
Yeah.
I've got other stuff to do than learn about lenses and light and
Oh,
all this other stuff.
there's so
Out
much.
of my league.
So much. Yeah, it's send me those photos. I want to see them. I love looking at photos.
Okay. I don't want to. I know you've got a long day. I don't want to keep you too much of your time. You got time for emergency 9, the back 9?
I got time for emergency 5 minutes.
Okay, here we go. We'll do a quick Ryder Cup walk-up song, or we'll do President's Cup since you're from Cape Town. Or
President's Cup walk-up song.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, this is you gotta I think you gotta go something by Queen. Something by Queen. We Will Rock You or something like that. I like that.
Get
I like
everybody
Queen
going.
a lot. We gotta go with that.
With all the courses you played and the fabulous holes that you've seen, the best hole to have a hole-in-one on?
Does it have to be a par 3?
No, not at all.
Well, I guess okay. I'll pick a par 3. I would say having a hole-in-one on the 12th at Augusta National.
Oh yeah,
That'd be my pick.
That would be a very good one because you beat the field by probably 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you could sit on a bench and talk to anyone in history, who would it be?
Jesus.
That'd be a tough one.
Hopefully, we got a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Your coach or instructor, Mount Rushmore. Who's your 4 on Mount Rushmore?
Jurgen Klopp, coach of Liverpool at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he does to motivate players is amazing. I think you got to have Butch Harmon, David Ledbetter. Mm-hmm. I love, I'd love to understand what Nick Saban does. And so giving it a quick thought, that's where I'm going. But Jurgen would be numero uno for me.
Let's see, a couple more. Your favorite purchase of $1,000 or less in the last 3 years?
Favorite purchase of $1,000 or less. Got to be an air ticket to go to South Africa during COVID, because it's normally way over $1,000. But I got one for like $850 on Qatar and went there for 2 weeks and had a great time during COVID. It was awesome.
That would be a great purchase under $1,000. Let's see, 3 more. 3 more. Door number 1, you could go back and change all the mistakes you ever made, or door number 2, you get $10 million in hand.
All the mistakes I ever made have got me to where I am today. And so I don't want to sound conceited like I'm chasing the cash and I've never made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but it's kind of worked out. It's been okay.
Yeah, I think it's worked pretty good for you.
I would love to have worked harder as a professional golfer. When I was in college, I worked hard. I wanted to do well in college. I certainly wanted to do well as a young professional, but I stopped working. I didn't work to the degree that I needed to work at, and I wish I could do that again. I don't necessarily regret it. I just wish I'd have put more in at the time. So I'll take the 10 mil.
I don't blame you. That's probably my answer as well. Let's see. What are you most grateful for?
I would have to say my family, just, my wife, my kids, the life that I've got. It's so blessed, Pete, so blessed. Sometimes I wonder, why did it work out so well for me?
Yeah, and as I follow you, you hold your family very dear. You have a lot of pictures with your kids and your wife, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last one, the greatest golfer of all time.
I'm glad I don't have to be around when I hear people responding to this. Uh, Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus.
It's almost 50-50, so don't feel
It's
bad.
got. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It's all. I
Yeah,
think
Jack.
Tiger has
Jack
a
gets
little bit
my
of the edge,
pick.
and
Like,
Tiger has a
Tiger's
little bit of the edge.
amazing.
Yep, and it's a little bit. The age demographic is almost a separator, with a few of,
Yeah,
let's say, people our age or a little bit older siding with Tiger, but it's closer than you think, at least from who I've interviewed over the years.
that's interesting.
All right. I'll have all the links to everything, that your website and Coach Camp, where people can register. But tell them where they can go if they're listening in their car and
Would love to
what they
have
can
you
do.
join us at Coach Camp if you're a coach who's keen to learn, who's keen to grow as a coach, and you would like to do the best job that you possibly can do. I think this is a no-brainer. I don't think you should miss it. CoachCampUSA.com, or you can go on my website, AndrewRiceGolf.com. There's links there. But we'd love to have you join us and just be part of the event. Come in, ask questions, learn, grow, make some great contacts, and advance your career.
Yes, absolutely. I can vouch for it. I arranged my family and buddy get together to go this year. So I highly, highly recommend anybody out there who's on the fence, take the side of Coach Camp. You won't regret it.
Pete, thanks so much. Really appreciate you doing this, and great to catch up and banter. Hey.
Always. Thank you, Andrew. You have a great night.